when I discovered civil disobedience. I just stopped doing homework. I figured most people went to work for a living. When they got home from work, they shouldn't be expected to keep working. And the same thing was true for kids. If you're in school all day, you ought to go home, have some fun, goof off and stuff. And so I figured that I would just stop doing it. My mother was disappointed. So she took me out of the regular school and put me into one of these progressive schools so I could progress. I remember I walked in the first day of the new school. All the kids were standing up that morning singing my father's song. This land is your land. I was the only one, didn't know the words. Nobody told me that stuff was famous outside of our house. When you're a kid, you don't think of that stuff. So I ran home crying at the end of the day, and I told my father what happened. And he made me bring him a little guitar I had that he'd given me on my 5th birthday, which I still have. And he showed me the chords, and then he taught me the words. And when I had that much done, he taught me some verses that wasn't in the school book version. So when I went back the next day, I went back armed. I like that. Although I do get a little nervous sometimes singing songs like this in places around the world. This is obviously not California to the New York Island, but my mother once was over in China back in the 80s during the Nixon years, and she went over, she come back. She said, Arlo, I was in the middle of China. And they brought out some school children, and then they started singing us some songs. And they started singing, This Land Is Your Land. I said, stop the song! My husband wrote that song! She must have drove that crazy. She was driving me crazy about it. It was weeks after she'd been home. So she had to slow down one little bit. And I just looked at her. I said, Mom, what are they singing it for over there? I mean, California to the New York Island. She just looked at me. She said, oh, Arlo. And she walked away. And I was left standing there feeling like my usual self. I knew she was right. I just didn't know why. And then it come to me. I could see it just because it said California to the New York Island. Didn't mean you had to go the short way. I could see it going around back. Or maybe up over the top or something like that. And then the whole world could be singing that song. Except America. I remember when I had that thought for the first time, I realized I didn't know any more after thinking than before I'd begun. But I never let it stop me. And of course, I'm not running for president back home, where it might make a difference. I don't know how it is over here, but back home, well, a few years ago, they let all the crazy people out of the hospitals. And now they're all running for president. You're clapping, but wait. Could get bad. Hope you got room for me over here. Where was I? I was singing the song. Oh, yeah. I get so easily sidetracked. It's like a high wire tightrope, guy out there, the slightest wind. It's been fun to be here in this old church. It reminds me of the church we had back home. Years ago, I wrote a song that's far too long to sing, even in English. But I wrote it in this old church, and this has reminded me of it. And then years later, we made a movie in the same church. And then about 20 years ago, I'm walking around doing one of these American TV shows, Whatever Happened to Him? And so we're filming outside the old church, and I hadn't been back to it in years. And the people came running out. saying, "That's Arlo Guthrie. Let's get him to buy it." So I bought it. And we still have it. We do some beautiful things there, wonderful things, just helping out, you know, the good stuff. And it's so nice to be here in a building just about the same size, same amount of people that we squeeze in. And so it's been really fun to be here. And like I said, it's hard to find a place I haven't been, and I hope to get back at some point. And I'll leave you with this last verse my dad taught me. I'm thinking about all those young people around the world right now, over in the Middle East, you know, out in the streets, back home, out occupying everything, you know, occupied is occupied. And I've been helping them out, and got a record coming out any day now that I did with Dave Crosby and Brandon Nash and some others, all to raise money for some of the occupied kids. And I hope that's a really good thing they're doing. So I'm going to leave you with this verse that I always sing for them. It goes something like this. Nobody living can ever stop me as I go walking my freedom highway. Nobody living can make me turn back. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land, and this land is my land. From California to the Old Island, from the redwood forest to the North Sea waters. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land, and this land is my land. From California to the Old Island, from the redwood forest to the North Sea waters. This land was made for you and me. Thank you very much. Have a good night. It's been a pleasure.